Welcome everybody. Today I want to talk about how you can rebuild your confidence after maybe you've lost yourself. Like even if you're still in that survival mode. Now to do that, let's start by asking you something really quick. Like, have you ever looked in the mirror and thought to yourself, like, I don't even recognize myself anymore? Not because of how you looked at all, but because of that, like, that inner spark or that quiet confidence, that clear sense of you just feels like it's gone missing. I don't know, maybe you're a parent who has been so focused on keeping everything running for everyone else that you honestly just don't even remember the last time that you did something for you. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur who started with some big vision and purpose, and now you're just buried under back-to-back tasks, wondering, like, whatever happened to the fire and the passion that you had? Or, I don't know, maybe you're an employee who's working for a large organization. You're grinding away in survival mode for so long that you can't even hear your own voice anymore. I mean, if any of that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. I mean, you're in the right place. I see you. I've been there too. I've been there in so many, in so many ways. Like, I remember a season in my life where I was just like, it felt like checked out. Like, I was showing up, I was doing the work, but I was completely disconnected from the version of me that used to feel, confident and clear and capable. And I started wondering, is this version of me just, I don't know, gone for now? But here's what I learned, and I want to pass that along to you. Your confidence, like the thing that's in you, it's not lost, it's just buried. It's buried under all the responsibilities, it's buried under exhaustion you're feeling, it's buried under the habit of pulling everyone else along, putting everyone else first for so long that you forgot what it felt like to be authentic and be in your own lane. And the path back to that, it's not about waiting for clarity. It's not about trying to think of how you get there. It's about taking action, small, doable, and meaningful action, because clarity follows movement, not the other way around in any way. And so we want to dive deep into this. Now, my name is Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book called The Giver Method. It is an Amazon bestseller. It's been out since November. It has tons of 5-star reviews. It's helping thousands of people to feel more connected, live more fulfilled lives, discover their gifts and superpowers, and just transform their lives and how they show up in the world. I highly recommend you grab yourself a copy. I'll put a link down in the description where you can go get it on Amazon. It's the best $10 that you can invest in yourself. Now, if you're not quite ready to invest that $10 in yourself, I will include a link to a free resource that you can go download that is called The Giver's Roadmap. That's going to at least get you that process started. Now, here's the thing. I don't get anything from you either buying the book or downloading that. I get nothing, actually. But I do know that the thing that it is rewarding for me is knowing that you're taking those things and starting to put them into motion and starting to show up as a different person. So I encourage you, after the video, go down, grab them. I'll remind you towards the end, okay? Now, I want to walk you through these 6 steps or principles that are going to help you to rebuild confidence and reconnect with your gifts, your superpowers, things like that, and start feeling like you again, even if you're tired, you're overwhelmed, and even if you're still not sure where to begin. Now, of course, before we jump in, of course, if you're new here, please hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. I don't want you to miss on any of the videos that we have like this, the stuff that helps you to, rediscover your strengths and actually use them in a way to make impact that you were born to make. Now, down in the description, I'll also include links to the other places you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, or you can check out all the details about us at thegivermethod.com. Now, with that, let's dive right in. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's start beginning, let's bring that version of yourself back to life, just maybe one step, one principle at a time. And so the first thing, what I want to start with is something that might surprise you. Your confidence, I mentioned earlier, it's not gone. It's not broken. It didn't fade away. You've just buried it, and you've buried it under these years of doing things for everyone else. You've buried it under the routines and responsibilities and the long to-do list that just never seem to end. And the first step to it is you have to do this thing that I call a strength, you got to do a strength dig. You got to become an archaeologist. Like that strength, we'll just call it strength archaeology, practice or whatever it may be. And so what you start is you want to start gently uncovering a version of you that never actually left. When archaeologists dive in, they're looking at dinosaur bones or whatever, they're not just chipping away hard. They slowly go at it. So we're going to do the same sort of thing, especially since you're a busy parent or entrepreneur or, grinding away through work. Most people think that they have to maybe reinvent themselves to feel confidence again. And that seems heavy, but that leads to them never actually doing it. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been. Like, it's already been in there. What are the gifts and superpowers? What are those weird quirks that you have? The talents that just have felt easy and natural before life got too loud. Like, they're still in there. They're still inside of you. You've just covered them up. So think about, we're going to be digging out an overgrown garden. The flowers aren't dead yet. They're just hidden beneath some weeds. So the work now is about pulling back all that overgrowth and so that your strengths can breathe again and start to get nourishment again. So what you want to do, start by thinking of a achievement timeline. But not like not like what you put on a resume. We're not looking for anything like that. I'm talking about like the little moments. Like, okay, so if you would put this down talking about like how you'd get a promotion, or you'd want on a plaque, like the wrong thing. You want to go complete opposite. Where are the little moments in life where you felt alive? Those times where you were in your zone doing something that just feels so natural and energizing to you. Think back to when you were a kid or a teenager, like what made you just lose track of time? What kind of problems do you always seem to solve for people? What do people come to you for help for? Even, back then or even now. What's stuff that you've always just been good at, even if like you've stopped giving yourself credit for that, because that happens a ton. Don't worry about anything fancy. Just grab and start doing some bullet points. Like, you can grab some scratch paper, you can grab put it on your phone, anything. And then what you want to do is just look for patterns. The moments that were like, man, that feels like me. That feels like who I was. And then next, what you want to do is you want to start by doing a external reflection. We are really good at not recognizing how good we are at things. So reach out to a few people who have seen you at different points of your life. Maybe a friend or a former coworker, a sibling, someone who might have known you before you became the so-so parent, or the employee X within the organization. And just go ask them, like, when have you seen me at my best? What strengths have you seen in me? If you were gonna, go out and someone came to you and they had a problem and you were like, who you need to talk to? You need to talk to someone. You need to talk to Jake. Like, what would that problem be? What would you be referring people? And you're going to be surprised what comes from that, because sometimes the strengths we've buried the deepest are the ones that have been inside of us all along. Now, here's the deal. Like, if you try to rebuild your confidence without reconnecting to who you actually are, it's going to feel like you're swimming upstream. You're going to end up chasing someone else's version of enough. But when you uncover your real strengths, the ones that were in you before you went into this survival mode, like, everything will shift for you. You do the reflection exercise, you build that foundation, you stop guessing who you are and you start remembering with confidence, like, it's not that far away. It's like coming home and stepping into who it is that you were always meant to be. Now, the second thing is going to be all about these micro confidence actions that you would do. So, one of the biggest traps people fall into is that they try to get, they want to get their confidence back, but they wait. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. Like, they're like, gosh, I need to build this. Well, gosh, wait for more time, wait for more energy, the better season, the better anything. Like, the truth is, confidence isn't going to show up before action. Like, it shows up because you do something, you take action. The map appears when you're in motion. So you need to put in this confidence, micro confidence action system. It's about flipping your story. It's about rebuilding trust in yourself by keeping the smallest promises possible, until that trust becomes unshakable. You don't need to have this big overhaul. Once again, I know as a busy parent, entrepreneur, employee, like, you don't have the time for any sort of big overhaul. You don't need the dramatic declaration of who it is. Like, what you need is just to prove one tiny move at a time that you can still show up with that, and confidence, like, it's not about being loud or big. It's just about being reliable, especially to your own self. So you want to start by looking for, what are your 60-second confidence steps and actions you can take? Like, seriously, 60 seconds. That's it. That's all I'm looking for. What's something that takes less than a minute that connects you back to your gifts or to your goals or a vision? Like, maybe it's about jotting down a quick idea for something that you've been thinking about. Maybe it's sending a message to someone who inspires you. Maybe it's 60 seconds of silence where you could just breathe and check in with yourself. Like, or maybe writing down one thing you did today that you were proud of, even if it feels really small. Like, the point isn't, what the action is. It's just, the point is just doing it, no matter how the day has gone. And then you pick one of those things and you create these, I'm going to do my micro promise where I'm going to write down, speak it out loud, something like, hey, today I'm going to take 60 seconds and I'm going to stretch before I open my inbox. I'm going to, I'm going to message a friend who's always, reminds me of who I am and helps center me, like whatever it is. And then the key is you have to keep whatever your promise is, even if the day gets away from you, even if you're tired, even if it feels like, what's the point? Because every time you follow through, you're proving to yourself, gosh, I do what I say I'm going to do. And that isn't just some weak core value that some company would throw out there, but it is actually how you show up in the world. If you really want to boost the impact, then track it. What's your, success streak of knocking out these 60-second wins? Keep count of how many days in a row you can do that. It doesn't matter how small the action was. What matters is that you did it. And that little chain of wins, it becomes visible proof that you haven't lost, everything, that you can still feel and show up with that confidence. When you have that sort of a system, it's a game changer. It helps you break that cycle of overthinking because, gosh, let's be real. Waiting for confidence to magically show up is the recipe to just stay stuck with where you are right now. But when you flip it and just good, I'm going to just take any action, even tiny ones, the brain starts collecting that as evidence of you showing up, that you're trustworthy, and that you still have it. It's not from hype, not from someone else's approval, but it's that quiet power that you have from just following through with things. And that kind of confidence, it's going to build and it's going to last. Now, the third thing is this identity expansion, and there are some different rules, techniques that you can do as a part of that. There's a little thing, sneaky thing about confidence, and it's a confidence killer, actually, that no one really warns you about. Getting stuck in a narrow version of who you are and how you see yourself. I don't know, you probably have felt it before. I don't know. You've just, you become just the parent, just the business owner, just the employee. I'm just the nanny. I'm just the whatever. And the longer that you stay in that one lane, the more you forget about these other parts of you, all these creative parts, the curious parts, the funny parts, that used to show up all the time. And so that's where this idea of identity expansion comes in. This isn't about blowing up your life or walking away from responsibilities. It's about just slowly and intentionally bringing back parts of you that you've shoved aside for far too long. Not escaping current life, but to make space for it for what's inside of you already. Think of your identity like a house, and over time you may have locked some doors. You shut some doors out, some rooms, and you want to try and keep things manageable. But this is about going to be look, let's walk back through. Let's walk down the hallway. Let's turn on those lights. Let's go one by one and get there. So the first thing is start with your role expansion. Look for, what are the roles that you're living right now? The parent, the employee, the business owner, and whatever. Ask yourself what's one part of me I've lost touch with, and how can I maybe sneak it back in here? You could look at that in all sorts of ways. So maybe, I don't know, I jotted down a couple of ideas of what this could look like. So if you used to love photography and you're a parent, how do I start trying to find the creative photos I could take with my kids in daily life, not just the posed ones? If you're an entrepreneur who used to be into teaching, how could I how can I mentor someone or build a mini training series for clients or my team or for others? If you're an employee who misses being outdoors, I don't know, let's do some walking meetings, even if it's just once a week. You don't need to overhaul your schedule. You don't need to, just need to find the ways to weave these things, these parts of yourself back in. And then start to look for, or create what I call these identity permission statements. So these are just the simple reminders that you're allowed to be more than one thing, and write them down. You can say them out loud. I'm a great parent and I'm a creative thinker. I lead my team and I take care of my body. I'm committed to my job, but I still get to dream bigger than where I am. The truth is that your identity isn't either or, it's both and. Think about that. You've just forgotten how to give yourself a permission slip to do that. And then, of course, build in these identity anchors that you have, those tiny visual clues in a space that, pulls you back to who you are when maybe, I don't know, you need it. Sometimes I need to step outside of my title or that role, and I need to remember who it is I am. So, maybe it's a paintbrush in a jar on your desk. Maybe it's a playlist that reminds you of who you were in your 20s. Maybe it's one item of clothing that feels like you instead of your role, like instead of the role that you're playing day to day. Put it where you can see it, where you can use it, you can feel it. Let it whisper like, hey, you're still in there. You just got to come back in and find it and start using it more. That whole identity thing, like when you get wrapped around a role that you're in, your confidence lives and dies at how well you feel you're performing in that role. When you start expanding it beyond that, even a little, you create more places to feel alive and capable, and you build more confidence. You stop putting all your self-worth into that one basket and start remembering like, oh yeah, like I'm more than just this job or title or to-do list. I'm still me underneath all of this weirdness. And that's where sustainable confidence comes back in, not because you added something new, but because you finally made room for what's always been there. Now, our fourth one is about strengthening, how the strength activation, the strengths that are in you. So the biggest myths that are out there when it comes to confidence is thinking that just knowing your strengths is enough to feel strong again. We're just going to go discover your strengths. It's not. You can have all the strengths in the world, creativity and leadership or empathy, strategy, fill in the blank of whatever other ones you think you have. But if you haven't used them in a while, they start to feel distant, maybe not gone, just dusty. Like a trail in the woods that used to be really clear and easy, but now it's covered with brush because no one's walked it in years. So that's where we start to look at this strength reactivation system that you could do. It's not about discovering new strengths, it's about just reawakening the ones that are in you, ones that you used to make you feel great, our second nature before you went into that survival mode. So start simple, super simple. Let's look for our strength. We're gonna go spotting. We're gonna go. Let's say we were hunting. We're gonna go strength spotting, rather than deer spotting or whatever. Start paying attention to how your strengths are already showing up, even in small ways. If you're just naturally a problem solver, notice those moments where you help figure things out. Maybe you're fixing the morning meltdown for your kids, or you smooth over that last minute client issue. If you're great at communication, catch those moments where you explain something clear, offer encouragement, or help someone feel seen. You're not trying to do extra. You're just saying, remind yourself oh yeah, it's still here. I got it. I can still use this. And then next, build, what I like to call a strength practice schedule. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. In fact, it shouldn't be. Just set aside a few minutes. Could be 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, a couple times a week where you intentionally use one of your dormant strengths. You love writing, journal your thoughts for 10 minutes to kick your day off or to wrap your day up. If strategy is your jam, then great. Spend a few minutes planning out projects, personal projects, work projects. If creativity once lit you up, then doodle the hell out of things, or make something, or just do something for you in that scenario. The key isn't the length, it's consistency. You have to be repetitive. That repetition reactivates the connection. And then you try adding strength challenges. So what are those low pressure ways that you could maybe stretch the strength just a little bit more? Start maybe private, something that no one sees, and then go maybe low risk where maybe you share it with one trusted person. Over time, let that strength show in public, in your work, in your relationships, in everyday conversations that you're going to have with people. You're not proving anything. You're practicing something. You're getting it out there in front of people. Now, this matters so much because you can't feel confident about strengths that you don't use. You maybe have been great at those things in the past, but if you're not using them, you just can't feel that. It's like saying, I love music, but I haven't actually picked up a guitar in 5 years. You loved it, but it's not going to feel real until you start strumming those strings again. And so as you find this strength reactivation, it gives you a way to slowly rebuild your capacity, to build trust in what you can do. And even, and each time that you start to use those strengths, even in a small way, you're collecting proof that it's still there and building on that confidence every single time. It's something that you just rebuild in small acts of alignment. Now, the fifth one, so we got two more. So the fifth one, evidence-based confidence. That you build it off of that approach, because if you think about one of the hardest parts about rebuilding confidence isn't the skill, because once again, they're probably still there. It's believing you still have it, that you still can do it, and that when you're doing it, that you're doing it right. Because when you've spent years in survival mode, putting yourself last, hustling to just keep up, your brain starts playing tricks on you. You stop trusting instinct and you start questioning capabilities. Even when you do something great, you just brush it off and forget about it 5 minutes later. we are all really, really good at brushing off things that people say to us that could be compliments or examples of where our gifts and superpowers are being used. And so that's why this principle is so important, of this evidence-based confidence. It's so powerful. It gives your brain something it cannot ignore, and that's proof. The proof is in the pudding, because the truth is your confidence doesn't disappear. We talked about it's buried under all that stress and obligation and comparison. But your brain, it's been trained to just scan what's wrong and what's missing. So if you want to shift that, you need to give it something solid to work with. So you start by building, like, what are the, maybe it's a journal, maybe it's some way of taking notes and such of the evidence of confidence showing up every day. So take, I don't know, just 2 minutes and write down something that you did where you showed up where you were still capable. Once again, it doesn't have to be big or life-changing. In fact, the smaller the better. Gosh, I handled that meltdown without losing it. I asked for what I needed in that meeting. I followed through with what I said I was going to do. Like, it doesn't matter how minor it feels. What matters is that it's real, and that you start stacking that evidence up against what your brain's default programming is doing. Because the more proof you collect, the harder it becomes for that inner critic to argue with you. And then you build out, like, what's your capability, report or case study. Like, what are the, like, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 wins from your life? Could be personal or professional or whatever. And go back in time where you actually were crushing something. You're just so good. And ask yourself, like, what strengths was I using? What decisions maybe did I make? How did I navigate through that thing? And then write it in third person, describing it to someone else. Like, man, she handled that project under so much pressure, brought the team together, and made such clear communication with everyone. Like, it may sound cheesy at first, but trust me, it gives you a fresh lens. It reminds you that you didn't just get lucky. You showed up with real skills and delivered. And then you start, this, what's my growth documentation? How am I going to track that? It could be screenshots of emails that you're proud of, or journal entries where you showed progress. It could be before and after pictures of a project, or even a sticky note where you wrote, you wrote to your kid, like, that brought comfort to them, or anything. Like, store these things somewhere where you can revisit them. Maybe it's a folder on your phone, a notebook on the nightstand, a digital file or something. Like, this is my evidence that I'm awesome. Like, and I'm extremely serious about that. Like, do it. The kicker is that on those days where doubt creeps in, open the file, read the journal, look at the case study, like, scroll through that folder and let the facts speak louder than the fear that is going on in your brain. So many people out there are trying to think more positively and be more confident, but they're doing it without the proof that they need to rewire their brain. And if you're already feeling disconnected from yourself, it's like trying to build a house without a foundation. So having this evidence-based confidence, like, gives you that foundation, because when you need actual evidence of what you're capable of, like, when you start seeing a pattern of strengths, of follow through and such, like, that's where things start changing for you. That's how it's real. Lasting confidence gets rebuilt that way. Now, the sixth one is all about value-aligned action and putting that into practice. Something that most of us feel but can't always name. It's that there's this low-key tension between, what we care about and how we actually spend our time. And I hope you know what I mean with that. Like, the value connection. You're stuck in back-to-back meetings and feel disconnected from your family. You value you value that connection with people. Like, gosh, what if you value creativity, but I don't know, you're drowning under laundry, logistics, endless emails. Maybe you value contribution, but lately it feels like you're just surviving day to day by yourself. That misalignment slowly eats away at your confidence, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because deep down your actions and values feel completely out of sync. So that's why this sort of a value-aligned action helps you to close that gap. And no, it doesn't have to be about quitting a job or selling everything or running off, to Bali so you can find yourself. It's about just rediscovering who you are right where you are and finding small and real ways to live your values inside of the life you already have. So you need to start by creating, like, a value check-in, like clarifying what you need to know in those check-ins. So you're going to pick 3 to 5 values that really matter to you. Not ones that you think sound good, but the ones that actually feel like home. Things that, like, growth or creativity or connection, peace, purpose, playfulness, integrity. You could use ChatGPT or Claude or some other AI tool to help you come up with a million other types of values you could pick from. Pick the ones that you feel resonate the most with you. write down one sentence about why it matters to you. So like, creativity helps me feel more alive and original, or connection reminds me that I'm not doing life alone, or integrity helps me sleep at night so that I can show up proud of myself the next day. And then you take it a step further. For each value, ask yourself, like, how could I maybe express this in real life, even in small ways? And then that's where it's like, well, great, now I'm going to do a value expression inventory. So like, if you're a parent who values learning, maybe it looks like asking your kids thoughtful questions at dinner, or reading 10 pages of a book before bed, like just for you. If you're an entrepreneur who values that contribution, maybe it's, taking 5 minutes each week to help someone else, in your network without expecting anything back. Or if you're an employee who values autonomy, maybe it's about organizing your workflow in ways that honors that rhythm, even if tasks stay the same. Like, now this is where it could really start to get powerful if you do it the right way. So there's value action gaps that you want to scan for, and you want to look at how you're spending energy each day, each week, and ask, like, what am I doing that doesn't match like what I say I care about? Where am I feeling depleted and like it's potentially eating into me? Is there a way to reframe or rework this so it does align with what I care about? Can I drop or delegate any of this to make room for something that feels more aligned to me? You don't have to blow up your life. Just a simple shift of a few degrees. Start small, one decision, one moment, one value aligned action per day. Like those actions, those values, when lined up, like even little, it shifts what's inside of you. Stop asking, like, gosh, what am I doing? And you start looking at it from the, gosh, who am I becoming? And that's real confidence. It's not loud or a performative kind. It's just grounded in steady, kind things that, show up in your life and that you start to reflect the truth of who you are. Now with that, I want you to just take a second, take a deep breath, because that was a lot of things, okay? Because as we walk through, like, I don't want this to feel like it's just some sort of a motivational pep talk. It's actually this step-by-step plan that can actually rebuild confidence after a season where you've lost touch with yourself. When, we look at these principles, they aren't just ideas about, about things you could do. Like, these are going to be real-life tools. They help you to uncover the version of yourself that's underneath all the noise and pressure and the grind that you've been putting yourself through. As we talk about these different processes, systems, things that there are, like, gosh, there's so many pieces you could go back and watch again. But like, what I want you to walk away with is that, remember, your confidence is not gone. It's just buried in that, it's been buried from survival. It's been buried from the busy schedules and to-do lists and everything else. It's buried because, like, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're lost. It just means that, gosh, you need some attention. You need some consistency, and you need some willingness to take the tiniest next step. If this whole thing feels like a lot, I get it, but you're already carrying a lot. So that's why I'm not asking you to do everything all at once or to do all these things right away. Like, just pick one thing. Pick one of the actions, start putting it into place. Whatever it is, pick it, start doing it as soon as you can in the next day, couple days, week, 2 weeks, and then let it build from there, because confidence doesn't come from waiting until you feel ready. It comes with the action. It comes from proof, reconnecting to the version of you that's been there all along, just waiting for a little space to breathe again. Now, if this conversation, if it resonates with you, hit that like button. Once again, subscribe to the channel if you didn't. Maybe you need to share this with someone who feels in the same boat, or you look at maybe they're feeling stuck, but they're looking for, ready to take that first step towards taking themselves back. If you haven't already, please go grab the Giver Method book. Like I said, the link will be down in the description, as well as the Giver's Roadmap, the free resource you can go get. I'll have both the links there. They're going to dive deeper into how you discover, develop your gifts, how you start building a life that feels aligned and not just productive. Like, it's aligned with who you are authentically. So I'll put those links in the description. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these things maybe hit home hardest for you? What's the one thing you're going to start doing? Put those into the comments. I'd love to hear that. Let's make it as real as possible, because the version of you that felt grounded and confident and clear, they're not gone. They're still just in there. They're ready to come back. This is them calling you. They're saying, hey, you watched this video of Jake for a reason. Now is the time. Let's bring that version back to life, one small step at a time. With that, gosh, I will just say, until next time, keep discovering your gifts. Keep creating impact only you can make. You've got this. You are so much closer than you think. And with that, I will catch you in our next video. Have a great rest of your day.